All right, what's going on, everybody? Welcome. We've got a familiar face this week for the Chime In, someone who's been famously known as the CRM Coach, the founder of Barbecue Follow-Up, which is just amazing.
The name, the concept, it's just finger licking good.
Finger licking good follow-up. That's phenomenal. And so what we plan on doing today is picking the brain of one Adam Frank, so we can talk about just that exactly. How do we improve follow-up? How do we maximize Chime? How do we help everyone convert more at the end of the day? I mean, that is what our platform is here to help you do. So that is what we're going to talk to you about. That sound fair to you, Adam?
Absolutely.
Awesome.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Yeah, I know this is a topic that you could talk about for days. Adam, I'd like to think if I was a realtor, I would be very much like Adam, which is have technology talk to people, have technology talk to people as much as possible, so I can talk as little to people as possible.
Yep.
And still at a high level. So thanks for sharing your insights with us. We appreciate that very much. And
You bet.
Yeah, what do we got today?
So today, let me see if I can share my screen here. So today I'm going to be talking, it's kind of a back to basics. Like I'm known pretty well in these weekly chimes for my automation skills. We're going to be kind of going back to basics. There's, every month we have a lot more Chime. Your Chime is growing very fast. And a common theme in the Facebook group is that, like, okay, I'm new. There's a lot of bells and whistles. I love it. They just need some direction on the basic fundamentals of how to get started, kind of breaking in this Mustang and then taking it in the field, under control, rather than just like jumping on a bareback horse and grab on the mane and hope for the best, right? We want to have a sense of direction. There's a lot of quips and cliches about, like, it doesn't matter what kind of data you have, if you don't have a direction on how to use that data, it's toilet paper. It's next to useless. The same thing is that you can have Chime, and if you don't set it up properly from the start, you're very, very likely not going to be successful. It's the nature of the beast, and something as intense as what Chime can be, it doesn't have to be overwhelming. So I'm going to kind of like reel things in from what I usually talk about and kind of go back to the fundamentals of, let's get the foundation solid, and then we can play around with all the other fun stuff later on. Getting to know the system and just at the basics of, you've got leads coming in, they're organized into a basically, a dynamic spreadsheet kind of version of a database. And then you want to reach out to them with emails, texting, voicemail drops, video emails, send them property alerts, market reports, snapshots. Like, what does all that stuff do? And how do we make sure that you set that up so it's like a set it and forget it as much as possible? So with mine here, I'm just going to cover this briefly. We've covered this a whole bunch of times. And you can go into the other weekly chimes and things like that. These support articles, I do want to point out a lot of things. Even me, if I don't know something or if I want to learn a little bit more, this question mark up here and then help center, and then just type in your search term and you'll have an article, and I'll read through that stuff. And usually that's what I do first. And I don't even need to bug support because they have these great articles in here. I rarely have to reach out to support, and when I do, it's either usually something I'm missing, or it's a little goof. Give me a couple of hours, they're going to square it away. Not a big deal. So very first thing, if you don't know something, use the resources already here in this library and read about what you want. So pipelines, groups, and tags. This is about CRM organization. So pipelines are the point at which the lead is or the contact is from the like in the process of the transaction, what I call curiosity to close. Curiosity meaning hey, I'm curious about this website, like they just registered. Closing is obviously self-explanatory. So you can break this up however you want. You can be as complicated as you want. I've seen some agents have new lead buyer, new lead seller, actively working buyer, you can break it up however you want to. You can create a whole bunch of pipelines if you want. I like to be more on the simplistic side. So I have the main ones I use are hot, warm, cold, and then down on the other end there I have not ready. So basically what that represents, you can kind of see from the numbers here, that represents if they're basically ready to take action, like they've either indicated through activity and or communication with me that they're ready to take action within 30, 60, 90, or more than 90 days out. What I interpret as taking action means they're either like pre-approved or have cash ready to write an offer within 30, 60, 90 days, or they're ready to list in that time period.
Sure.
So it's basically just, it's like, are we going to be meeting in person in this time? Okay, then they're warm, that kind of thing. So I keep it very simple here because I want to know my time. Like I'm concerned about my 90 days out. I focus on that and then everything else kind of falls into place. It's going to be kind of poetry in motion when people change their mind, hey, I'm moving out of state. I gotta move in, I gotta list and sell within, 60 days. Cool. Let's get going. Job fell through. That's, I decided not to take it. They did whatever. And okay, now you're not ready, put them wherever you want to. Some will have super simplistic ones. Like I've even seen some, I'm experimenting in another system with even more simplistic pipelines that are going to make even the minimalist kind of freak out a little bit, which is kind of fun.
No, I like that. And that's the important part. Like what I don't want people to do is walk from this and see your pipelines and instantly put into their business and it make no sense to them, right? So like,
yep.
Take away core principle of the idea, like, you have a pipeline that makes sense to you, and implement it. And if this makes complete sense to you, and this is the way that you think, then use Adam's. If you don't think this way, in the concept of 0 to 30, 31 to 60, so on and so forth, then add the pipelines that make sense to you, but use them and update them. It's very, very useless pipelines if you don't update them. I can't even begin to tell you how many times someone's asked me to help them with their CRM, and okay, I'll do the best. And I go into their system, and they have 0 under the closed pipeline setting, and I think to myself, and I ask them like, "Have you closed any business?" And they're like, "Well, yeah, of course." I'm like, "Well, what about this lead that says new lead stage?" They're like, "Oh yeah, that person closed 2 weeks ago."
Yep. Or yeah, if you don't know where people are in your business, you're not going to know where your numbers are in your business. And I've seen,
like, make no mistake, you're in real estate. This is a professional sales organization. So know your numbers, know your conversion percentages, know your cost per client acquisition, know these things, know your appointment to sign contract ratio. Like these are all you need to know in order to run a professional sales organization.
Yeah, because like you can see, I can see right now. Look at my database up here. I got 6 people that are new that are being processed by the AI bot. I've got 14 people that are basically super VIP, or they don't want email properties; they only want text properties. So I've got them in a separate pipeline to keep them prominent. I've got one person that's indicated that they're ready to take action within 30 days or less. I got 30 in warm, and I've got 38. So I've got 69 people or so in the next 90 days that are ready to take action. And I've got one person that requested an appointment, so they were going to meet with one of the referral agents that I have. I've got, I'm just basically waiting to confirm that. I've got 3 people in the appointment set, so they're going to meet. And then one person has met, and they're basically in the process of getting pre-approved. And the sign listed. I don't have any of that going on right now, but like I can just take a snapshot and say, cool, I've got about 70 or so people that I need to make sure that through the next 90 days, I'm making sure that whatever they need, I'm focusing on their activity in the system more than anybody else in my database.
Oh.
Those 70 people right there, plus the VIP text only, those, so what, 85 or so people, those people are my highest priority in my database. And it's not that I don't care about the other several hundred, but they're just not as priority as what those people are right now. So, and I've seen too where like, I got a bunch of YouTube videos on my YouTube channel about Chime, and I've seen some where I go in and I'm hired for work in people's databases and things, and I go in there and I know exactly what video they saw because I look at the pipelines and they're set up exactly like a particular video, and I'm like, yep, I know exactly where that's from. So it's like I'm flattered. Don't get me wrong, I'm flattered, and it is like maybe 20% of an ego boost that people like to do what I do, but this has to make sense for your business. I cannot, and like yours, this is, you know, like if you, especially one good example is the difference between the purchasing process in America at large and Canada at large. It is a very, very different process for lending than it is here in the US. So the pipelines that I would create for essentially like client level would, like, they don't really have a due diligence period. They don't really have a pending. They don't really have a contingent period. It's basically, it's a more streamlined process where if you're under contract, you better close that thing or you're probably looking at some legal issues. Like they don't mess around in Canada. Very different setup in Canada than what I would ever have in the US. So I guess it's a huge point there. So the next thing here that we're going to go, and this is kind of the hierarchy, is pipelines and then groups below and then tags below that. So the groups, you can see I love groups. Groups are fun. So the way I use groups is it is essentially a collection of people in a similar situation. Doesn't have anything really to do with the transaction. I mean, everything in real estate CRMs is transactional really related, but you can see this here. So reevaluate 80 plus. When the reevaluate score is 80 or above, I have automation that kicks them into a group so I can, okay, these are my likely movers in 6 months. Okay. And then I have some where, okay, these are the ones that have an agent. I got 4 of them that said that they have an agent. They may or may not, but whatever. This is the iBuyer program. So I've had 2 people that were, I had a conversation with that were interested in receiving a cash offer through the iBuyer with my firm. You know, different thing. I got some, used to have some blacklisted people here, but there's a landline group. So I know, okay, I can't text them. I need to call those 101 people that the system flagged as a landline. So I need to change that. That's indicating to me that these people here, and I also tagged them as landline. So this is indicating to me that I've got 101 people that I need to be on the phone with, not texting and possibly not so much emailing. These are the old school people that love the landline. So I got to use that. Another thing that people like to do is group by loan type. So like you may have like FHA buyers, you might have conventionals, you might have cash, you might have residential income investors, you might have commercial property investors, things like that. I know NACA or NACA is another one down in the south and in the eastern part of the US. You can, some agents, if it makes sense for your business, you can use a group to break up what kind of loan type so that when you're in any situation, if you come over here to the appointment set, you can see how the group count changes. So I can, okay, well, 2 of them got contacted with the AI, 1 did the AI actionable, 1 said they have an agent, but they're in here, so they really don't. So that kind of makes sense for, you know, how to organize there. Tags are really the unlimited if you need more information there. So like things I would use tags for would be things like pool, golf course. You know, if you have like an investor and they have like a certain asset class that they want, you know, class A office, class B residential, multifamily, 16 units and above, whatever that makes sense for your lead in that situation, that's what I would tag. What's nice about a tag is that you can add and remove very quickly. You can also trigger smart plans off of that. You can also, you pretty much trigger just about anything with a smart plan with a tag, but that gives you an infinite level of labeling. So you can only have a lead in one pipeline at a time. You can have multiple groups and you can have multiple tags. So the point at which they are in the transaction is the most important. And then a group is what's their, other situation. Is this a vacation home buyer? You can also use that as a tag if you prefer that. So the groups and tags you can kind of use kind of in conjunction. There can be some overlap there. Like I have a landline tag and I have a landline group. I put both in because sometimes if they're out of that group and I still have the landline tag, but a cell number, I will either remove that tag or modify based on kind of how everything goes. Paying attention to how you organize these three components is fairly important when you're starting your system up. And generally any import that you have from your previous CRM, whatever tags they're going to pull in and just create a tag for that in Chime. The pipelines and the groups, I would create a column and have it match what you're going to have in Chime. If you don't have it in Chime and you create that column labeled pipeline and group, it will create that in Chime for you upon import. Some things are better done on the spreadsheet. Others are done. It's fine. If you just do it in Chime, you can still do bulk things and usually 100 to 200 people at a time. So it's not generally that big of an idea. And then moving on.
So hold on one second. Sure. Before we move on, I think we should actually dig our heels in here and go rather deep on tags, suggested uses, how you define the difference between groups and tags, because I would say that tags, groups, and pipelines, there's enough work there for someone to spend the rest of the day on. So I don't want to minimize the importance and the ultimate use of these pipelines, groups, tags. So let's dive deeper on this and talk about how more specifically and you use them and some actual use cases thereof.
Sure. So we'll go over to tags because that's usually the one. Pipelines and groups are pretty simple. Tags are usually something, I think they're equally simple, but the breadth and customization of them can be a little overwhelming at times. One thing, I love a lot of things about Chime. One thing I love is this, where Chime gives you statistics of how many leads are tagged with a certain thing. So if I'm looking at some tag and I'm like, geez, do I ever use that? No, nobody's on there. Why do I even have it in here?
You just trash it.
If I need it, I can just delete it. And if I need Appleton Basic again, I'll just throw it back in there. No, not a big deal.
Sure.
Love that feature, by the way. So in Chime, you can have private tags that just apply to the my seat, essentially. My people on my team platform, they cannot see any of these. And then the shared ones here, it's for everybody. Everybody on the system. So you can see ones so this was probably either from a listing or it was from a landing page somehow, an open house form, that kind of thing, that had a tag on that page so that when the lead registered on that page or through that process, this tag was automatically added. And then you can say, okay, cool, I got a listing, on Centennial Center, and what was my how many leads did I get from there? You can just come in here, look at the tab. Oh, there's one lead that came through, and this one here, active, I've got 115 people. So I did a lot of FSBO and expired stuff. And when they indicated to me that typically it was an expired that relisted with an agent, and it's just the source data and the MLS data didn't catch up that it was relisted. So I just take it as active. That way I know, that I can, either reach out or not reach out, kind of a thing. Absentee out of state. So I'm entering a secondary home market where I'm combing through. This is where I said a lot of stuff can be organized. So my girlfriend is a CPA for a large corporation, and she lives and breathes spreadsheets like I live and breathe Chime. So she's basically helping me organize with pivot tables to basically figure out, okay, who are the property owners in this city? And then what state do they live in? what city do they live in, what's their equity, what's like drilling all that down. So then I can selectively pluck the people that I think are the most likely to list or buy another property. And then I can figure out, I can tag them basically if they're absentee out of state, if the owner occupied, if it's a corporate, corporate entity that owns a property, that kind of thing for investors. The other ones here, anything with the AI is based off. These are the ones that are created by typically the system. You can force. There's a list in the help articles. You can actually just add these in here on your own manually so that they're already there for automation purposes. But these are created and attached by the AI chatbot system. So you can see right here, like there's a lot, probably 50% of the people that are reached out to by the bot, they don't respond the first time, right? That doesn't freak me out. Like I literally don't even care about that, because I'm the same way when I go into Best Buy. I walk in looking for whatever it is, and I see that blue shirt army coming at me, and I'm like, whoa, dude, I'm just looking. I don't need to be talked to right now. If I need your help, I know where to find you. That's essentially what these people are. They don't want to just back off, barbecue the hell out of them, just leave them be. Low and slow. When they're ready, they're gonna fall off the bone right in your lap. It'll be fine. Don't sweat it. Worry about your 90-day people.
And let me throw this out there. Let me throw this out there as well. If you just scroll up again, so you can see the list of the AI tags. You can see all of these. Something that I did for my fiance just is, hey, wondering if this is a good call list for you. Is I created a save filter for AI accepted appointment, ask for a call, intend to sell, interested, need financing. I think the requested making offer, requested showing, and warm, right? So I took all of those tags that indicate a active level of interest, created a save filter for it. And now when my fiance calls her new leads and her opportunities and needs her next call list, she calls her evaluate 80s and above, and she calls her AI assistant, save filter leads. And that's not a huge, I know I just listed off like 4 different lists, but those lists are short and easy to call through. And it's all high quality lists of leads. No one is asking you to call to do 100 cold calls. We're asking you to call literally the hottest leads that we could possibly find for you.
Exactly. So these are really powerful. I do a lot with it. And so like I was testing on a source identified, and when they brought in the Chime, they were tagged. So I got 600 people in my database just about with that. When I have so Amy and Stacy are 2 of the referral agents that I use for my leads locally. So when they get to the point, when the leads get to the point where like they need to meet an agent, instead of me meeting them in person, I refer them out to Amy or Stacy, depending on what location they're in. So then once I know, and typically once I know where they're going to end up, because a lot of people, like there's like about a 50-mile stretch of highway that people kind of bounce back and forth. I'm in Oshkosh, Green Bay is north of me, about 45 miles. There's people in Green Bay that commute to Oshkosh and vice versa. So like it could really be anywhere until I know an exact location. We're like, yeah, I absolutely have to be on the north side of Appleton. That's going to go to Amy. I'll tag Amy, and I know when they request a showing, when they say, okay, I'm ready to write an offer, let's go. I already have it tagged which agent I'm going to send my referral form to. And then once I add that tag, that kicks off automation to handle that for me on its own. So we won't get into that. We won't get into that here.
Yeah, that's a different. That's a different video about your referral business, but we'll talk about that another time. To answer the question here in the chat real quick, how do you obtain the AI leads? Where do they come from? Is it auto-generated into those tags from the bot on the site? So the leads can come from anywhere. You can use Chime, paid lead advertising. It could be Zillow leads. It could be Brian Short. It could be Dippity. It doesn't really matter where the leads come from.
Just
as long as you have the AI assistant, it's going to interact with any of the sources you allow it, and it will apply those tags as is appropriate. So the source is irrelevant. The only thing that matters is you have the AI assistant and it interacts with your leads and it will apply those tags, and you'll get a notification to your phone, and you'll be able to respond immediately. As I have found out with my fiance, is she is not always available to respond immediately, which is probably very similar to many of you. And so we created that call list so she could follow up on the leads that might have slipped through the cracks.
Yeah. So, and then I have, FSBO. So from the lead source that I was using, FSBO and expired would come in and they would already have the tag with it, which was awesome. So, these are the numbers of, I know expired is up here somewhere. Yeah, expired 66. FSBO is 260. So, other ones too, again, here's my landline one again that's showing up, and you can see sometimes I was kind of I always experiment with things. So like these different movements off of a tag, I don't have them applied anymore, so I can get rid of those. Sure. Here's some here where we've got like over 200. We got ranch recently bought with another agent. There's some reevaluate tag stuff. Not selling, withdrawn, that kind of thing. So, and then you can see Stacy's got five tag here. So, languages. Somebody speaks Spanish, tag him as Spanish. Somebody speaks French, tag him as French. There's a whole bunch of different languages that, if you've got somebody on your team or somebody that you can refer out to say, geez, you know what, I don't speak Russian, I'm going to send this one over here. Tag them as that. That's the tag to me.
Yep.
Because it's something that's super, super specific that, sure, you can probably, like, are you really going to have more than, say, like 100 people have the same situation? If yes, I would probably group them. If not, I would probably tag them. And obviously that's going to do, if you got 60, 70, 80,000 people in your database, you could have a whole bunch of different, scenarios where it kind of is all the same thing. Yeah. But at least having, again, I think the biggest takeaway I want people that are watching this, either live or in the future as a recording, the biggest takeaway I want people to have from this is organize your business in a way that fits the way you do business. Like it's fun to get, I'm a fan of using other people's experiences and situations for inspiration, not for mimicking and copying.
Right.
It just, Brett has talked at length about the comedy of, replication, duplication, and trust just goes to crap. It really does. Yep. A lot of these things here, they're probably not going to really affect much in the way of your bottom. Like if you literally take my system and just copy it over to somebody else's, you're probably going to do pretty good. But the learning curve of how my brain works and the reasons and justifications for why I do what I do is definitely not going to line up with yours. So like Brett and I have a pretty similar brain as far as our processes and methodology. So we could probably jump in each other's system and not really have, it might take a day or two to figure it out and we'll be good. Somebody else, like if I take a brand new agent, never use a CRM, starting off with Chime, drop this in their system and say, here you go. They're like, whoa, right? We don't want that. So it's got to fit the way that you do business. Just because I'm doing really good with the way I have it doesn't mean that, you have to do this and then you're going to get the same results. Like there is crap in, crap out, but there's also different kind of crap that you can put in your system. So let's spend.
Well, I know we're definitely going to run over. Obviously, yeah. Let's spend the
I want to talk about lead registration settings on the website.
Okay, let's do that and then circle back to the AI settings because I want people to get an idea.
Yeah, that's really good.
I think there's some confusion. But website registration is a conversation that is it's a very old conversation, and I definitely would like for people to get an idea of how they should trigger their registration prompts. Yes.
So I'm gonna run down here. So basically what I did here, so I kind of had this preloaded so I could kind of save a little bit of time, but you basically click on your 4 squares up here, the CMS manager. If you have a team account, you have other people under you, you're gonna have to pick on your actual domain. If you're just a single user, it's gonna pop up automatically. You're gonna click on the gear wheel here and the lead capture is right next to it. The top one here is the registration pop-up trigger rule. So basically what that means is when somebody is cruising on your website, what is going to make this registration where they have to enter their contact information? Like when and how is that going to occur on your website? What I have and what I recommend is the listing detail pages. So like, unless they're looking at properties, use my site, I don't care. I want it to be triggered off of the listing views, and I set it to 1. So basically they look at a property, they go to the second one, bam, we need your information, buddy. This one here, I think, is one of the most important, the pop-up style and settings. I believe by default, it's been like 2 years since I changed this, but I don't know. I think the single column is the default one. I'm not a fan of that one. I prefer the one-step column, which is going to give you 2 things. This is number one, the absolutely most efficient way to get registrations from your leads. And remember, people do business with businesses that are convenient to do business with. So if you have an 18-step form just to see a listing, you're going to get so many people bouncing off of there. But you've got 3 fields here to give you a little preview. Full name, email, phone, done. That's it. The other benefit to this is by doing this, you're not going to get the site email lead, what I call the bailout capture. So people get first they put in their email address with these other 2 up here, put in their email address, and then it says, okay, use your phone number as your password. They're going to bounce out of there. Chime will capture that as an email only lead, which yes, you can do certain things to it. And I use this method for gauging intent. If they don't want to give me their full name, their email address, and their phone number, I do not want them in my database. I'm in business to be a serious business owner. I want to work with serious clients. If they're not that willing to give up that information, trust me, I like my privacy too, even though my phone number is all over the internet.
Well, your real estate agent,
I get
of course
that.
it is.
But yeah, exactly. But I want to gauge their intent. If they are not serious enough to give me all that information, I don't want them in my database. That's a decision that you have to make on your own, but it's easier here because the people that I know go through this, I have a better chance of number 1, connecting, number 2, relating, and number 3, helping them with their real estate goals.
Could you click real quick on what the 2-column thing looks like, the 2-column style?
Yep.
Gotcha. All right,
so it's still, you're gonna have 1 step here, and then the second step is where it adds the other stuff, and that's when people bounce.
Got it. Okay.
Single step column here, it's just boom, 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 done.
Done. Okay. Yep. Makes sense.
What I do too, when I change this, I can't remember what it is, but this thank you message by default is super generic. Something like, thanks, enjoy my site, or whatever it is. I changed this because I'm using the Chime AI bot. I changed this to give them a heads up. Give them a heads up that basically, hey, my bot Eve is going to reach out to you shortly. So they know that it's, nobody reads the terms of use and conditions. They don't, nobody cares. Even attorneys don't care. But this here is a little message that after they register, when they click on the I'm finished, there's a little pop-up that says, take a look at my site. My digital assistant Eve will be with you shortly. So they know that basically, hey, I'm going to have Eve reach out to you. And it's that memory jogging thing, so that 45 seconds later, when my AI bot reaches out and says, hey, this is Eve with eXp Realty, saw you're looking for houses, what can I do to help? Oh yeah, that's right, they were warned about that. So it kind of it keeps their guard down that, hey, somebody's going to be reaching out, don't be surprised. I also want the full name, and I also want the phone number. I disable this here. I want them to, again, this is an intent thing. I want them to actually type this information in. I don't want autofill information on this. I want them to actually type it in. And typically when they do this, if they have their browser setting correctly, because a lot of people love efficiency, when they go to click their full name, especially if you're using Chrome, it'll pop up with their information already that they use and save for ordering and everything else. So you're actually going to get more accurate information because it's going to have their actual name for orders, their email address they use to receive receipts and shipping information, and the actual phone number that's required for credit card stuff too. So, excuse me. So I disable the third-party stuff, and I require these, knowing how this process is.
Makes sense.
This allow pop-up to be closed? No, I don't know. I don't want. Sometimes you can have this if you toggle this on and this pops up, they can X out of that. Nope, I want your information. You can see the X disappeared. I want your information, no ifs, ands, or buts. Questionnaire settings is the next one. So there is one for buyers and sellers, has a few default ones. You can use these as conditional questions to trigger different things in the smart plans, which I appreciate. I'm not a big fan of this, especially because I have the bot that does all this stuff. I want people to get lubed up in dish soap and slide down to that pool of water at the end. I want to make this process of getting in my system as painless as possible. So both of us, the lead and myself, we can move on with our lives and do what we need to do. They want to get property information, but I want their contact information so I can see if I can help them. This is a win-win. Doing this, I don't recommend that, even if you're not using the bots. This should all be done with follow-up because it gives you a reason to reach out. And when you show, especially I'm going to go back to the dating world with this, when you are interested in somebody to date them and you ask a lot of questions, that shows that you are interested in them. So if your follow-up where you don't know these questions, or I'm sorry, you don't know these answers, and you ask the lead this, whether manually following up or automatically following up with a smart plan, oh, this person's interested, they want to help, it's gonna show some trust that, oh, I'm not, I'm actually a person, you're trying to figure out more about me, right? If you're like, you know what, I like this stuff because I want those answers, even though the bot could get them, maybe they're going to answer this and not talk to the bot, please allow them to close this. Because if you, again, you want this to be painless. So if this pops up and you're like, I ain't got time for that, let them close it out. You at least have their contact information, deal with that stuff down the road. Chat box settings, I really don't mess around with this a little bit. I show it because my bot, either the digital assistant, she pops up there. Lead privacy on mine, I have set as team lead source. Default is going to be website. I just put Blue Compass team, that's my stuff. And then the site email lead, I toggle that off as a backup because I don't want email only leads. I want all of the information. So I definitely wanted to cover this part because it's just when you get an email address, when you get a phone number and you get a full name, you know who you're talking to. So I'm going to be very sexist here. A lot of women agents use that Forewarn app. So if you have all that extra information, you can put in that Forewarn app and gauge it. Okay, well, this guy says his name is Thomas, but it's coming up here. The phone number is coming up to Jeremy. Well, that's a flag, right? Take appropriate action as you need to. So I like getting as much information as possible for who it is and how to get a hold of them. And then that's kind of where I draw the line in the sand and let my automation and my follow-up deal with it from there. Going into the AI settings, where is my gizmo? You guys move around things every few months, you guys move things around. This is the AI settings. And this is pretty simple. So the way the AI works, it has its own Chime virtual number, separate from other agents. It's done like this for a reason. So don't try and say, hey, I want to use my stuff. Stop. Just stop at that mentality. The reason it uses a different number is because if I actually had a human being, Eve, in the Chime set, she would have her own number. So don't overthink that. Just go with it. Chime knows better about some things than you do. So they do it for a reason. Just trust them.
Thank you. Some credit. We finally get some credit.
Yeah, they haven't thought of everything, but they thought of most things. And there's definitely a reason and methodology for why they do things a certain way.
There's a method to the madness, no doubt.
Exactly. So I like to humanize everything. When you humanize technology, you're going to get better rapport faster and conversions are going to be quicker. This is somebody, I just went to unsplash.com. There's Pixabay, there's a bunch of other ones. Get a royalty-free picture if you're going to use that. Take a picture of yourself, not of yourself, but take a picture of yourself of just some random person that you have permission to use if you want to do that. Make sure they smile. In the photo, you don't want to have some Stone Cold Steve Austin looking person on there. So this is just like some preview stuff here, but I'm a big fan of just using a picture here. And I did think about this, and I did go with this picture simply because of diversity. But AI settings here, I go back and forth. So like if I do a setup for you and you're like new to Chime, especially new to the bot, I will recommend setting these for active hours of 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. And then I'll do this real quick. And then when you change, just randomly here, when you change, you're going to have this little box come up here. Check that so that if anybody comes in between 4 a.m. and 5, like outside of those hours, like after 5 p.m. and before 4 a.m., when it hits 4 a.m., now the bot's going to engage all the new leads that came in overnight. Me personally, on mine, just because I like to bug people all hours of the night, I just set mine for basically all the time.
Oh,
if you don't want to get
24 hours.
If you don't want to get texted at 2 in the morning, get the hell off my website at 2 in the morning. All days as well. You can pick and choose. If you don't want to bug people on the weekends, that's I let it fly. If they don't like it, they can block the thing, and I'll leave them alone. I'll delete them. Sure. Welcome message delay. I've played, so default is 30 seconds. I've played with 30, 45, and 60 and went back to 45. I think that's just kind of like a better, it's still pretty quick. I've seen some, they have like 10 minutes on here, and it's like, ooh. So, but again, that's your decision. The live chat. So this is that is actually going to be on the website in the bottom right-hand corner. I have it, so you can select if you have like more than one person, like this person here, he doesn't want it on his, which is fine. So I just deselected that. So I only have it set for certain agents, websites where the chatbot is going to be on their website. New lead qualification. So different sources I have here. There's some, like this one here. I don't have permission from them when they come in. It's just like a data import. I don't have their consent to contact. So I can't really, because of the CAN Spam Act with the do not call stuff, I can't just randomly text somebody. So I turn that off for that because I don't want to break any rules. And just coming through and looking at things, there's different things. So like My Plus Leads, same thing. This is a kind of a side project I was doing, but just going in here and looking at like street text. That was a guy that was on my platform before that was using street text stuff. Well, street text has their own follow-up stuff that goes on. They don't want confusion with the bot, so I unselected that source. So that's basically it. Most of the stuff here, and then I don't want for the lead type here. Other is that's where I use for agents and some vendors and people that's like my safety net, where if you're an other lead, I have nothing going on for you whatsoever. So I'll dump them. That's like you're in here because I want to retain your information. I'm not going to follow up with you for whatever reason, because typically it's another agent. So I do buyer and seller, and then renters are going to get engaged with those. And then same thing with lead type for the existing leads. And remember that they did update this a little bit here, but essentially there's 5 different criteria of existing leads that the bot will reach out to and engage. And the same thing, I believe they're the same, just about the same lead sources as I have above in here. And then the pipeline exclusivity is important. So for existing leads, I don't want the bot talking to anybody that is essentially in a client pipeline status, which is basically this here. So if they basically had already reached out and said like, hey, I want to meet you, like that's when I engage manually and get them in typically a showing appointment. When that appointment is set and met, they're undercut, they got paperwork going on, I don't want the bot reaching out to them, right? Can you imagine if you were showing a property to a buyer, or you had a listing appointment and they look at their phone and they're like, hey, why is he texting me? Like, you don't want that stuff. So I had that stuff turned off, especially if you have like a do not contact. Like turn it. That's where typically like anybody that unsubscribed, or they had like a bounced email, or they basically just told me to go jump in a lake, I'll throw them in there right there. I have a disqualified pipeline here, and that's a holding ground for people that or people that said they're not interested in working with me, or people that have an agent. I'll throw them there, and that's more of I just kind of typically have them on property alerts and nothing else. And then I don't know if this feature is live yet, but if it does show up in your system, you can connect your business page so that on Messenger, the chatbot will engage leads that message your business page on Facebook, which is really fun. And then you can change your welcome message here. So one thing to note here is that And I don't have a lot of activity on there, so I don't really use this very much. But one thing here is that Facebook Messenger as a business page feature, this is Facebook only, will automatically send out some kind of response. So when you do this greeting text here, I would make sure that this text here is appropriate to whatever that is. So like have your partner or whatever send a message on Facebook Messenger so you can see it on your side, how Facebook is actually going to reach out initially. And then based on that script, come in here and change your greeting text to kind of go off, think of it as like two messages. So Facebook is going to send one, and then the bot is going to send the next one. So if you have something like, I think initially the bot said something like, hey, thanks for visiting my page, what's your name? And it's like, well, you should know the name because, Johnny Homebuyer is on Facebook and you can see Johnny Homebuyer's name there. It just didn't make sense.
Yeah,
there wasn't a logic to that. So just take the extra step in here and just make sure that it's seamless so that it's like, hey, welcome to my page. What can I do to help? My name's Adam. Change it to something like that so it seems like it's, it's seamless and you're going to have a logical progression in your follow-up. God, we can do this for like 3 more hours, man.
I know. We got to cut it short here. Obviously, there's so much to go through, but this will be reposted to our YouTube channel. So please, if you're not already subscribed, go subscribe. Watch our YouTube channel. There is an endless amount of useful content on there, not only from Adam, but from many other valued members of the Chime community. Hopefully that made sense. If it didn't, when this recording gets posted, go watch it again. You could probably learn something. If you watched it 3 times in a row, you'll learn something new each time. So I appreciate y'all being here, spending your time with us.
Real quick with some of these here. So YouTube, if you search for Chime CRM or Chime Technologies, it'll show up. The other ones here, real quick about the AI, you don't really have to do anything to connect with Zillow, website, everything else. Just go in where I said, make sure the source is selected for those. That's really all you have to do. There's no integration as far as anything third party. It's all done in Chime in the settings. So when the source matches up, like if the source is checked for Zillow and a lead comes in from Zillow, that bot's going to run. It's Chime makes it that simple. So it's all good.
Exactly right. So go to YouTube, Chime CRM, check out all of the videos we've got. I appreciate y'all today. Thank you very much, Adam, again, for always being an endless wealth of knowledge. And we'll see you next time on Chime In.
All right. Sounds good, man. Take care.
I'll take it easy. Bye.